suspects Ali Salim Gishunge and his wife Violet Kemunto alias Khadija are also in custody. 7 suspects were arrested in various parts of the city on Thursday, with Ali Salim's mother Mariam Sakina being picked up by the anti-terrorism police unit at Isiolo's Kulamawe area. The vehicle removed from the scene of the crime Thursday is said to have belonged to Gishunge and was positively identified by his neighbors as a vehicle he drove. Now, police, however, say that Gishunge was not at the scene of attack and that the man whose picture is circulating wearing a cap is Eric and not Gishunge.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so today...
Security guards manning public places will now be licensed to carry firearms while on duty after fresh training. Now, Private Security Regulatory Authority CEO Fazul Mohammed says all employees in security firms will undergo vetting and firearms will only be given to specific security officers. Mel Miendo is covering that meeting here in Nairobi and now joins us, and the meeting, I understand, is still going on. And let's listen in.
Giving arms to the private security officers, and basically there are various issues that we are now addressing, including number one, we are now ensuring that they get proper minimum wage and also their welfare as working, as people who are working within the security industry. And number two, we are also going to undertake proper and very rigorous security vetting of all private security officers working in the industry. And then the third one, we have also now formulated a curriculum which will be mandatory for all officers working within the private security industry to undergo. That curriculum will include, but not limited to, counterterrorism. That is a place where we are going to give a lot of emphasis on. And we have drafted that curriculum. It is now ready. And we have included people from the National Police, from the National Counterterrorism, from the National Defense, National Intelligence. And basically, the whole idea is to integrate the work of the private security officers into the national security organs. And the people who we are going to issue firearms to, they will be for specific purpose and for specific assignment. That includes those officers who guard, who provide security for key installations, especially where there is a lot of human traffic. These include the malls, the hotels. And another area where we're also going to provide the officers with the firearms are those officers who do cash in transit and also VIP protection. So those are areas that we are going to start with. Then we now, by that time, the issue of the salary is very key. Because if we give a firearm to an officer who is not well remunerated, the firearm might become, it might be misused. So that is why we want to ensure that all private security companies pay minimum wage, which is around 15,000. They pay extra hours, which is around 8,700. Then they also pay house allowance, which is around 2,000, and responsibility allowance. That brings the entire minimum wage level to almost 25,000. Yeah, and security vetting database. We're also going to have biometric, the fingerprints, the eyes, and basically everything that we need to know from a private security guard to be in the database within the national security. And those places which are being manned by the private security officers, we are going to link them to the national police service. That is the command and control center, so that in case there is a problem, then they are going to press an alarm button that is going to show a distress call at the command and control center. As they wait for backup, then these people, they're usually the first people in the line of defense, you know. So that is basically what we are discussing today. Thank you.
One question that arises from this is, how long is the training going to be, and what is the timeline?
The timeline, basically, everything that we have said now starts immediately, and it will be implemented fully within the next 6 months. Yes.
You had mentioned that you'll be engaging the DCI and the NIS. Perhaps
Yes.
you can just give us a brief on that?
Basically, Section 45 of the Private Security Regulatory Act of 2016 provides for cooperation between the private security industry with the national security organs. So basically, we want to integrate the role and the work of the private security officers that they work on the ground with the national security organs that include the National Intelligence, National Police, and the National Defense, all of them to be reading from the same script. Yes.
Another question that comes is, it's an open secret that some of the police officers in Kenya, they lend out their guns. How sure are you that crime rate is not going to go up now that we're going to have more people with guns?
No, basically now if we flip that coin on the other side, because of the various measures that we have done, we are not just issuing guns. What we are doing is, first of all, we are addressing their welfare. They are paid well, they are remunerated well, they have proper insurance cover. Then the second thing is we vet them properly. And by vetting, we are going to have a holistic process of vetting. Then the third one, we are going to take them through a proper security vetting, training, sorry. That will ensure that these people know. And we have also even given the specific caliber of firearms to be used for specific places. For example, a guard who transports cash under the cash in transit will have a certain caliber of firearm from the one who is doing VIP protection, for example, and from the one who is guarding a mall. So basically all those things that, and we have borrowed heavily from the Firearms Licensing Board. And we have also borrowed it from the international best practices. So this is something, and anybody who is issued the firearm, we are going to have to do ballistic tests of those firearms. So at any given time, the government through the authority will know who is having which firearm and doing which kind of an assignment. Yes, and once that assignment is done, then they return it for safe storage within the company's premises.
Yes. You also mentioned the numbers being in excess of 500,000.
Yes.
Maybe how many guards will be issued these firearms? And is the entire arming process going to be done in a pilot basis, or are you going to be carried out in specific cases?
No, certainly. In fact, conservatively, it's 500,000. Now, within the next 6 months, we'll give you an exact figure, because we are going to have every biometric data of every private security guard working in the country. So by that time, certainly, in fact, that figure might even go up. The majority of the guards do the door work, the door guard. Now, for these specialized places and for the specialized equipment, probably that number will be like a fifth or something like that. Yeah. Yes.
You had mentioned
the other thing also I want to comment on the issue of the armory. The guards are not going to be given arms to carry them into the slums. We are going to have because I'm also on the board of the regulation. We are going to create an armory where to store the guns with the company. The employee is the one who will be entrusted, because he knows the assignment, which requires what? A tool of trade. You cannot just arm every guard. So the fear of misuse of the gun will be addressed by the employer, because it's the employer who assigned the gun. I think that one should be clear. And we cannot afford to arm every Tom and Dick.
Well, we've been listening in to stakeholders who are part and parcel of a meeting that was going on in as far as private security guards, man in public places, being pushed to be licensed to carry firearms while on duty after fresh training. Early on, Private Security Regulatory Authority CEO Fazul Mohammed saying all employees in security firms will undergo vetting and firearms will only be given to specific security officers. Our reporter Mel Miendo is actually at that press conference, and she will be tabulating more details in our subsequent bulletins. Now to other day stories, and actually in line with that terror attack at 14 Riverside, the Isili business community has this morning closed down virtually all business operations in the area in condemnation of the recent terrorist attack at the 14 Riverside Drive that left at least 21 people dead. Led by Kamkunji Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan, the business community said the attack was an act of cowardice and an attempt to hurt the business environment. The leaders urged Kenyans to continue fighting terrorism by remaining vigilant at all times and fighting radicalization, especially among the youth.
We close all the shops to show solidarity with Kenyans who we lost at Riverside. We show that our society are against what had happened. As a members also, we lost 2 of our members in that attack. We want to show that we do not belong to them, they do not belong to us, they do not represent us, we do not represent them. We are against the evil act. As all Kenyans, let us stand up and fight against this heinous act.
Just link people, unemployed people, idle people, people have no proper skills or education. We've put a lot of these young people through training, through our technical institutions. We have set up the first Ajira center in the country, ICT for job opportunities for young people. And we have been engaging. In fact, to a certain extent, Al-Shabaab has lost all ground here in Kamkunji. We have rolled back the influence of Al-Shabaab in many ways because of our interventions.
To the courts now, the Supreme Court has nullified the election of Wajir West Member of Parliament Ahmed Kolosh. This came as the court issued rulings on several 2017 election petitions.
The Supreme Court was a busy place inside and outside as the highest court issued judgment on several petitions on elective positions that were before it regarding the results of the 2017 general election. The court has nullified the election of Wajir West Member of Parliament Ahmed Kolosh and ordered the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC to conduct a fresh election in the constituency. At the same time, the court has upheld the election of Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, Gatundu North MP Wanjiko Kibe, Marakwet East Legislator Kangogo Bowen, and Lamu Senator Anwar Loitiptip.
Wale viongozi wote ambao tulikuwa tunang'ang'ania hicho kiti cha senator, na waomba wote wakuje karibu tukue pamoja, na asiyekushinda si mshindani. Kuna leo na kesho. Mimi namwambia ndugu yangu Hassan Albeit na viongozi ambao walikuwa wasimamia senator, tukuje pamoja tushirikiane kwa sababu ya manufaa ya jamii ya Lamu. Mimi nimewasamehea na tukae pamoja.
This case has indeed to some extent it has affected my work at Embakasi's constituency because I was working with one leg inside and the other leg outside. And today being the first day that I can confirm that I'm a member of parliament, I'm really going to work for these people. I'm going to do extra to the residents of Embakasi's constituency and to Kenyans. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Most of the sitting members of parliament in the cases had initially successfully petitioned the Court of Appeal to uphold their elections before their political competitors moved to Supreme Court to appeal against the decisions. Supporters of the leaders who had cases before the court milled around the gates of the Supreme Court awaiting ruling. Vincent Odur, NTV.
To Kisumu County, transport business on Lake Victoria is set to receive a boost after a 70-meter-long dredging vessel arrived at the port of Kisumu to commence drilling of the pier to accommodate big ships. Now, the vessel, which is set to be launched this afternoon by the African Union's Special Envoy on Infrastructure, Raila Odinga, is a joint venture between various national government agencies and the county government of Kisumu. Oko Kuse is attending that launch and now joins us live from Kisumu. Oko?
Yes, we are here at the Kisumu port where the launch of the 70-meter-long vessel, as you mentioned there, is set to happen any moment from now. The vessel we are talking about is that one right behind me there. It is called the Mango Tree Group, and it arrived last evening here in Kisumu from Mombasa. It is expected to commence work in 30 days' time. That is after another 2 vessels that are expected to help with the harvesting of the water hyacinth, which is currently choking the Lake Victoria, arrive here in Kisumu. But all the same, it is a huge relief to residents here, and of course even the business people who rely on Lake Victoria for their upkeep. Remember, Kisumu is considered as a business hub in the East Africa region in the sense that it sits between the riparian countries of Uganda and Tanzania, and therefore for a long time it has been considered as a link between the port of Mombasa to Uganda and countries such as Rwanda and Burundi, which are part of the larger East Africa community. So this vessel has been touted as a game changer as far as business on the port of Kisumu is concerned, in the sense that it is expected to cover a total of 62 kilometers. And in that 62 kilometers, in that package actually, where it is also expected that it will expand the landing bay here in Kisumu to 80 meters. And besides that, it is also expected to increase the depth of the port from what we are being told now is 3 meters or 1.5 meters in some areas to 6 meters deep. It is also been discovered that due to residues that have accumulated over like 10 years now, have reduced that depth from 6 meters to 3 meters, and to some areas I've mentioned there to 1.5, which has hindered the docking or berthing of some particular ships, huge ships actually. This port, as you can see from the photos, from the pictures, has been kind of active as far as transportation on Lake Victoria is concerned. A lot of cargo ships dock here that are destined for Uganda and Tanzania, but that has not been possible for quite some time now because of the residues that have sort of reduced the depth of the port here. And remember again, Gladys, that the expansion or the rehabilitation of this port is part of the Big Four agenda of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. Remember, the SGR rail is expected to pass through here, and therefore we expect that a lot of activities in terms of business will be improved, and that this particular port is key when it comes to that particular program or plans by the government. So this is a key milestone as far as the transport on Lake Victoria and business is concerned, and therefore a lot of people are excited about the idea that, or the fact that this port will once again be revived and made active as it used to be sometimes back. So we are expecting a lot of guests here, delegates, dignitaries here today. We are expecting officials from the Kenya Maritime Authority. We are expecting officials from Kenya Pipeline Corporation. We are also expecting officials from Kenya Railways Authority and Lake Victoria Basin Commission, together with the Lake Region Economic Bloc officials. We are also expecting those officials here. We have been made to understand that the CS for Transport, Environment are also expected to grace this occasion. We are yet to confirm that, but what we are certain about is that the AU Special Envoy for Infrastructure, that is Raila Odinga, is expected to be the chief guest here, accompanied by the Deputy Governor of Kisumu County, that is Matthews Owili. Back to you, Gladys.
Thank you, Oko Kusa, speaking to us from the shores of Lake Victoria, to be specific, the port of Kisumu, where transport business on Lake Victoria is set to receive a boost following the arrival of a 70-meter-long dredging vessel expected to clean up the stud-borne hyacinth that has infested Lake Victoria and, of course, open up numerous business opportunities. And we'll be catching up with him in our subsequent bulletins for more details coming out of that launch. Now, elsewhere, 4 suspects have been arrested in Eldoret for allegedly being part of a syndicate that has been deceiving maize farmers in Uasin Gishu County. Now, the 4 claimed that they were buying maize on behalf of an international humanitarian organization and would pay the farmers at a later date.
Most of the farmers are from Ziwa area in Uasin Gishu County. The farmers say that they sold their produce to the 4 suspects who identify themselves as World Food Program representatives. The 4 suspects pledged to pay after a week. According to the police, the 4 had so far received 700 bags of maize from the farmers at 3,000 shillings per bag, which is 500 shillings more than what the government is currently offering.
So in this case, we're investigating a haul of about 700 or even more, which are now in the hands of conmen. We are appealing to the public, despite the desperate situation they are in, let them investigate where they are selling their maize. Meanwhile, in Trans Nzoia County, there is traffic congestion at the National Cereal and Produce Board as farmers rush to deliver maize. The farmers accuse NCPB officers for the congestion, saying the delivery system is slow.
Tukajua wamefungua tunafika na kushukisha, lakini bado tangu hiyo siku acha nini, hatujashukisha, hatujafanya nini. Tumekaa hapa tunaumia hapa njaa bure.
Pia wenye magari wenye wametubebea mahindi wameongeza bei. Tulielewana nao ni shilingi 100 kulete mpaka hapa kwa cereal board. Sasa magari ya wenyewe imekuja imesimama na mahindi, tena wenye magari wana charge.
Some of the farmers claim to have been waiting since last week. Halima Gongo, NTV.
To the coast now, key suspects in the murder of former Kilifi Deputy Governor Kenneth Kamto will remain in custody after the court granted detectives more time to conclude their investigations. The suspects will then appear in court next week to take plea. Kevin Mutai has our story and others from the coast.
Police in Mombasa have asked the court for more time to conclude investigations into the murder of former Kilifi Deputy Governor Kenneth Kamto, who was killed at his home in Nyali on the 12th of December. Police say that they are still piecing together crucial information which they believe will help in building their case. The suspects have been in custody for almost 3 weeks now and are set to appear in court next week in Shanzu to take plea. Elsewhere, a teenager from Kakamega who scored 401 marks in KCPE exams is likely to miss his spot to join Form 1 at Kabianga High School due to lack of school fees. Helsi Oyunji, who was in Mombasa with his mother, told NTV that his parents are unable to pay the school fees. Oyunji is currently stranded at Kabianga High School, claiming that the administration has declined to admit him because he has not paid a single installment. Oyunji sat for his KCPE examinations at Nancy George Academy in Kabianga.
Na mimi mwenyewe sina mahali ambapo nafanya kazi, nafanya tu vibarua vya kufua nguo, kufulia watu nguo. Kwa hivyo ningeomba yeyote ambaye ana usaidizi, hata serikali ambaye anaweza kunisaidia mtoto wangu aende aweze kuendelea na masomo yake, kwa sababu ana ndoto zake ambazo anataka atimize katika maisha.
My dreams are to become a flying doctor, to help those people to take immediate action when they're in emergency mode.
Finally, the destruction of tons of bad maize is still ongoing in Bamburi Cement, following the directive of the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the National Environment Management Authority, and the police after the consignment was confiscated in November last year. The destruction of the grain could take up to weeks, according to officials. The maize, which is in 201 containers, with each carrying at least 500 bags, was shipped into the country from Mozambique. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
More young people are venturing into bee farming in Baringo County, unlike now. However, some of old methods which are still in practice hamper better yields. The youth are now training on modern ways to process the honey.
Beekeeping in Africa and especially in Kenya is widely practiced by the old, mostly men. But for youth and women in Baringo County, this is about change.
The honey is available, but the way in which it is presented as a final end product, it is not honey that really is of the quality that our clients would want to get.
Beekeeping is common in Koriema, Kapkwikwi, Mogotio, Marigat in Baringo South, Sibilo, Kipcherere, Bartabwa in North Baringo, and Tiati. At Kapkwikwi Center, residents have formed groups in order to venture in the business, but they face challenges of modern harvesting techniques and processing.
Many farmers, many people, they don't have harvesting gears. Two, processing equipment. We don't, even here at Rome, natural people, we don't have any processing equipment. What we are using is what we call simple processing.
They are now appealing to the county government to chip in and support them in acquiring modern machines to harvest and process the honey.
I appeal through the county government, different stakeholders, those who are doing, those who are in beekeeping industry, to support farmers, train farmers on harvesting techniques, train farmers on marketing of our product.
Fatma Bugu, NTV.
To Nakuru County, and farmers in Naivasha have given the Kenya Wildlife Service a 14-day ultimatum to sort out the human-wildlife conflict cases in the area, failure to which they will take matters into their own hands. The farmers in Mirere villages say buffaloes, giraffes and zebras have been invading their farms over the last few months and destroying their crops. The animals are said to be coming from the Mount Longonot National Park in search of food and water, and the farmers say that the KWS has failed to protect their farms from the frequent attacks. A KWS officer who declined to be named admitted there was a problem, adding that such issues escalated whenever there was drought.
Hizi wanyama tutawaua wote sasa. Kukatakata ama kuwapea sumu. Jua watu wao hata tukiwaita hawakuji. Na sisi tunategemea hii mashamba. Na hii mashamba tukilima hata tulime ni kazi bure. Tunachokea kwa shamba na hatukuli hatuvuni.
Elsewhere, 2 conservancies have gone to court to block the Greater Mara Management Limited from taking over management at the Masai Mara Game Reserve. The Naboisho and Mara North conservancies held a petition to have Saya Limited take charge of operations instead, on grounds that the company is best placed to run the affairs of conservation compared to Mara Management Limited. Saya Limited and the Narok County government have been enlisted as interested parties to the matter, and the case appearing before Justice Mohammed Kulo will be heard on the 7th of February this year. Across the borders now, Sudanese police on Thursday fired tear gas to break up hundreds of protesters marching towards the presidential palace in Khartoum. The demonstrations, which are demanding President Omar al-Bashir's resignation, have spread to other cities and towns. Now, the Sudan Doctors Committee, a group linked to the opposition, said a doctor and a child were killed by gunshot and had gunshot wounds to head during the violence.
The Sudanese Professionals Association has said in a statement that the deaths were also confirmed by the relatives of the 2 victims after protesters tried to march to the presidential palace demanding the resignation of President Omar al-Bashir. Officials say at least 24 people have died since the protests began last December, but human rights group Amnesty International has said that more than 40 people had been killed and more than 1,000 arrested. Just like before, protesters who took to the streets Thursday chanting freedom, peace and justice had gathered in central Khartoum and began their march, but drought police quickly confronted them with tear gas. Hundreds also gathered in the streets of the Red Sea city of Port Sudan, in the provincial town of Gadaref and in the agricultural hub of Atbara, where the first protests broke out on December 19th after the government tripled bread prices. The protests have since escalated into broader demonstrations against Bashir's 3 decades of iron-fisted rule that have triggered deadly clashes with the security forces. After out police broke up the march in downtown Khartoum, crowds in the capital's Buri district staged a new rally, witnesses have said. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir has blamed the violence during the demonstrations on conspirators working against the interests of the country without identifying them. Despite the crackdown, the movement has grown to become the biggest threat to Bashir's rule since he took power in an Islamist-backed military coup in 1989. The protesters accused Bashir's government of mismanagement of key sectors of the economy and of pouring funds into a military response Sudan can ill afford to rebellions in the western region of Darfur and in areas near the border with South Sudan.
Time for the sporting action. Brian Otwal is in studio.
Brian Otwal. Marathon world record holder and Soya Sports Personality of the Year Eliud Kipchoge will battle a stellar cast for this year's Laureus World Sportsman of the Year award. Kipchoge has been named in a final shortlist of 6 that include French wonderkid and World Cup winner Kylian Mbappe, LA Lakers basketball great LeBron James, FIFA World Player of the Year and Ballon d'Or winner Luka Modric. The shortlist also includes tennis icon Novak Djokovic and 5-time World Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton. Kipchoge, who also won his 3rd London Marathon crown earlier in April, was also named the IAAF Athlete of the Year, just a few days after being named the United Nations in Kenya's Person of the Year. And former world half-marathon record holder Peris Jepchirchir will be looking to reclaim her title when she headlines Rak Kaima Half Marathon next month, where she is targeting to run her personal best time. Having broken the 2015 world record in half marathon held by Florence Kiplagat in 2017 by 3 seconds after 1 hour, 5 minutes and 6 seconds, Jepchirchir is optimistic of repeating the feat on her return from maternity leave. Jepchirchir has been training in the tea plantations in Kapsabet and Nandi Hills, and she is looking forward to return to her favorite hunting grounds in the United Arab Emirates. The world half marathon record that stands at 1 hour, 4 minutes, 52 seconds is currently held by Kenyan Joycelyn Jepkosgei.
Nilifurahia vile tena record ilirudi Kenya, na tena mimi nilifurahia kama nimeingia hiyo book of records. So hata nami tena ndajaribu, nisipoiweza tena ya half bado marathoniko. So ndajitahidi vile kwa sababu hata mimi nimeonja na nimeona kukimbia rekodi sio ngumu. Nilikuwa naonanga kitambo kama ni ngumu, lakini ukiprepare vizuri, utrain well, record peke yake inaingia. That's my prayer, so to kimbia another record. Kama iwe ya marathon ama iwe ya half marathon, taifurahia.
And officials from the Africa Chess Confederation are pleased at the state of the game in the country and are optimistic of a partnership with the Chess Kenya in facilitating the hosting of more major events in the coming years. The delegation arrived in the country today and attended a meeting at the Ministry of Sports for a discussion on how best they can promote the sport in Kenya. Africa Chess Confederation are working on an initiative that will see the chess material be distributed to clubs and individuals within the country.
Chess is not just a game, it's an educational tool.
And La Liga leaders Barcelona overturned a 2-1 first leg deficit to beat Levante 4-2 and reach
from the sporting world. A lot more coming your way on NTV Alasiri, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. bulletins. Please stay with us, and thank you for your company this afternoon. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Have a good weekend.